We're live. So, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome to the Soul Elevation Podcast, guiding your ascension to new heights. Oh my goodness. What is happening? Can you hear music?
No,
There is some.
I don't hear any music.
You don't hear anything. That is.
Wait, what's the
Wait,
music?
what is happening? Oh, I know what it is. I'm sorry, everybody. This is my YouTube.
I'm like, what are the lyrics? Let's
I
look for the
it was
clues. What is it saying to us?
this is so bizarre. It was like this ad starting on YouTube because we're live on YouTube. So let me start over. So sorry about that. What a mystery. I was like, something's taking over my computer.
I was
Okay.
here for it. I'm like, what are the lyrics? What is it
Yeah,
saying?
I know. What is it
Let's
saying to
decode
us?
it right away.
Okay, well, we'll start over. Welcome to Soul Elevation, guiding your ascension to new heights. I'm your host, Kara Goodwin, and I'm so excited to have this live stream where I'm joined by the amazing Aubrey Nicole. And she is the host of the Infinite Drop podcast, which I had an amazing time being her guest last week. We got into some really deep, beautiful discourse, which we need to be having in this day and age. I'm going to read your bio really quickly here. Aubrey is an entrepreneur, author, and book publisher. She's also a cosmic mentor and host of The Infinite Drop, a podcast exploring mysticism and the larger forces shaping our societal destiny. She draws on 15 years of experience spanning energy work, chakra studies, meditation, astrology, somatic body work, numerology, psychology, human consciousness, cartomancy. We got to go back to that one because that's a new word for me, and a career in tech marketing. She's always been driven to explore the unseen realms and loves sharing the wisdom she's gathered with others. And so it's such a joy to be joined by this beautiful soul. What is so fun for me is that we connected 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it turns out that we're very similar age. We grew up like in the same little area, but she went to public, or I went to public school, she went to private school, and we're not, but we like know similar people. And it's like we probably have overlapped in circles because we both know a lot of people who went to each other's high schools and we're from similar graduating classes. So like, what a small world, because now you're in Nashville and I'm in Carmel, Indiana, and it's so funny for these things to happen that way. But I feel like I've reconnected with a soul sister, having discovered Aubrey and connected with her. So thank you so much for coming on Soul Elevation. I'm so excited for this conversation.
Oh, Kara, thank you so much for having me. I just feel so happy whenever I see you. I just feel like a little kid every time we talk. I'm cheesing the whole time. My face hurts. I feel so activated in a good way. And I just always know, like, I'm always in a good mood when I'm going to talk to you, and then I just get in a better mood. So,
I love
I'm
it.
I'm really grateful to be here, and thank you for that really kind introduction. And yeah, super small world. I love how in the last, at least in my experience, in the last couple of years, I feel like a lot of soul family is finding each other. And I'm hearing that from other people as well. So I'm so glad that we're in the same crew and we found each other.
I know, I love it. And I know that there are people also who are watching on YouTube who have joined us. Um, Hello to Michelle and Karen, who I already know are joined, or had planned to join anyway. Whether they've been able to connect yet or not, I'm not sure. But just to let everybody know a little bit of the logistical insight, you are welcome to put any questions or comments in the chat. I will be keeping an eye on the chat, um, but I know that you probably understand that we can't see you. So if you're like raising your hand or if you're worried about being on camera, don't worry about that. But we would love for you to ask any questions or to offer your comments in the chat. And I'll be trying to keep an eye on that so that I can represent you if you are asking any questions. But welcome if you're joining us live. And likewise, if you're joining the recording, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. So, Aubrey, I want to start first with just getting a little introduction to you and how you how you found yourself in the work that you're doing, and you have a diverse um, a lot of diverse expertise and interests. So, was there one kind of turning point that got you looking at some of these things, or have you always been into the things that you're into now?
I feel like I've always been a curious person. I've always had a lot of curiosity, and I believe I have my mother to thank for that. Definitely, there's some DNA and some encoding from the stars and astrology and etymology of my name and other things from these
Ooh,
systems.
I want to
Yeah,
go into that. Tell us more
put a
about
pin
that
in
when you
it.
can. Put a
Put a
pin.
pin in it.
Yeah,
Put
I'll
a
hang
pin
a
in it.
lantern on that.
Yeah, yeah, a big lantern.
Yes.
Um, yeah, but really, I credit my mother. She just raised us in a way where mental activation and mental nourishment and stimulation was so high, and so we had, you know, we had a humble growing up, but we always had this room, this library full of books. And they were used books and books from my grandma and books that she would find for us. And one of my favorite, absolute favorite things was the first edition hardback Nancy Drew books. And she had somehow gotten the whole series. And I would just pour over the Nancy Drew mysteries and the Hardy Boys mysteries. If you go to my Instagram and scroll back a little bit, you'll see I actually did a Nancy Drew themed photo shoot. And in
At
association with
Glamour
one,
Shots?
yeah, it was kind of, no, no, this is real life now. This is like a year ago. Yeah.
Really?
It's like
Oh
it was
my
kind of
gosh.
glamour shots though.
I love
It
it.
was shout out to Michael Allen, who's an incredible photographer in Los Angeles. And we got up at like 3 in the morning and we were up in the Hollywood Hills and we got an old fashioned Nancy Drew flashlight and we did a full photo shoot for promotion for a tarot class I was leading at that time. But I based it on one of the covers of, I think it was the mystery of the hidden steps or the hidden staircase. I can see the cover. And so I've always been into mysteries and researching things and getting to the bottom of things. When I was a little girl, I wanted to be a spy. Like I just was very interested in mysteries and figuring things out. So it's always been a part of me. And I would say, life kind of takes its turns, and I went to college and very fortunately fell into a marketing career. I feel that that was really divinely guided. There's a woman that I worked with at a restaurant, Brooke, and I had graduated college and worked in insurance for a little bit. Didn't love it. I worked at Geico and I was there for a year, learned a lot of business skills, but it wasn't for me. And Brooke introduced me to a woman, Stacy, and she hired me to do marketing at her real estate firm. And I really liked it. I really liked doing that. It was a lot of fun. I'd studied marketing in college. And as things just sort of continued to roll on, I got more opportunities. And then pretty soon I was in the fast paced world of the tech industry. And I was in Los Angeles and working at agencies and startups and kind of in that fast paced world. And then the last 15 plus years, I've worked in tech marketing, digital transformation, things like that. So that was sort of part of my life. That was a big part of my life. That was my career. But always in the background from probably right after college, I started becoming really interested in meditation, yoga. I was hearing these terms. I was living in Southern California. I was hearing about these things. Was not as prevalent as it is now, but more prevalent than it maybe was in the 70s or 80s or 90s. And so I just started dabbling a bit. And that was really due to me trying to relieve pain I was feeling. I was feeling pain in different areas. I was, partying a lot, drinking a lot. I was having heartbreaks. I was realizing some traumas from my past that were coming up. And through these yoga classes, I thought yoga was a workout. I started going because it was kind of a cool thing to do in Santa Monica. There's cute guys, and my girlfriends were going, and it was fun. And in those classes, I started realizing that I would feel really calm afterwards. And I felt it was more than just physical. I felt really good. I felt connected to the people in the class. I really liked what the teachers were saying. I didn't understand all the words. I didn't understand the official names of the poses. But I knew I felt good. And it was after a hard breakup. I'd moved into a new place on my own. I was out on my own again, and I went to Moto Yoga in Los Angeles at Third and La Brea, and I started going every day for many years. And there was a teacher there, Joe. He was a former Wall Street turned yoga instructor, and I really liked him. I was in the tech world, and my brain was going a lot, and he was really sharp, and he didn't really hold any punches, and he had us going really hard for 90 minutes in the heat. And one day before class, he said, we're going to do a meditation. I thought, oh, this is interesting, not knowing that the whole thing is a meditation, right? I wasn't even aware of that. And he has us in this, we're sitting on our kind of kneeling and sitting on our feet in a sort of uncomfortable position. And in that meditation, with my eyes closed, as he was guiding us, I felt this like a physical sensation of being sort of hit right here in the center of my forehead with what it felt like a blue laser or a blue light. And I felt it, and it just almost sort of just anchored me, or it just made my whole body, like it was really focused on that light.
And
And
you
I
didn't
just,
have any like experience or background or context for that at that time?
no, I didn't. And I just was like, whoa. And I didn't feel scared. It felt very healthy and natural and calming and good. And I just sat there, and the meditation went, it felt like to me for a very long time. I don't know how long it went, but I remember thinking, he's really having us in this meditation for a long time, but I didn't mind because I liked it. And I don't know if my perception of time shifted at that moment, or if he did notice that the room was in a deep state, and
Honored
I don't
that?
know. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I remember opening my eyes and thinking, whoa, like, what was that? And I, from there, just continued learning more and more. I had a blog. I was writing about things I was noticing, sensations in my body. I was learning about the chakra system at that point. And I always just kept wanting to have that feeling again. I thought, what was that? And I knew it was good. I knew it was a good thing. And I could just feel it. Um, yeah. And then from there, um, I started a book publishing company. I wrote a book, got really lucky. It was optioned for development as a TV show, never went through. Well, the show actually became a show, just not with me attached. Someone took the idea. So that was not fun. But
Oh, wow.
I knew then, like, whoa, there's other things I can do outside of kind of the traditional career path. So I have a couple other authors on the publishing company now. In like 2015, I believe. A good friend, I had a tarot deck at her house, and she did a tarot reading for me. And I said, oh, you really know a lot about these cards. This is so cool. And she said, you would be really good at this. Um, I'd had reflected to me frequently in my life that I was, it was like, you're psychic, or how did you know that? Or I'd have these coincidences or notice these patterns, and it would be reflected to me from other people. Like, this happens a lot. Like, how did you know that? Or your life is crazy. And they'd be like, how does that happen? And to me, it felt so normal. But in 2015, when Micah said, you should check these out, she gifted me a set of cards, and I just became very obsessed with them. And I started a lot of self study. I didn't take any courses, I didn't have a mentor, it was just self study. And within a few months, I was doing readings at my house in Playa del Rey, and people would come, and people were like, whoa. And things would come through, really specific information, birthdays, names. I would just know things. Someone would sit in front of me and ask a question about their career. And pretty soon the way I describe it is I catch a feeling or a sound, or it's very hard to describe. I sometimes see things visually, but that's rare. It's almost like it's like if someone was talking and you try to get really quiet to hear the edge of it, and I'll
Mm.
start following it. And I started realizing that people would ask something, and there's many times I'd be like, hold on, shh, shh, shh. I would shush them, go, shh, shh, stop talking. And then I would listen. And then I'd say, who is your sister? Wait, does your sister talk about, and I would just be able to follow this invisible trail. And
Mm.
then I'd say something and look up and they'd be like, what? Like, how did you know that? I'm like, I have no idea. It's just right here. It's right here. And I can like hear it, but it's more of a feeling. So a
Yeah.
few years after that, and then I'll wrap this up, but I mean, there's a lot more, but a few years after that, I was invited. I was at a party. It's a person who's kind of tangential to the celebrity world. We'll say it that way. And there was a birthday party, and I was at this person's home, and this person said, "Oh, I'd love to get a tarot reading," just off the cuff. And a friend of mine said, "Oh, you should go to Aubrey." And I was like, "What? Like, what?" Like, no, 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 no. I was like, no, no, no. I was like, you want to go to a professional? And they were like, you are a professional. And I was like, oh. And then that person and their partner got a hold of me, and I went back to their home the next day, and it was my first, paid professional tarot reading with a person that I thought, oh my gosh, like, how am I doing a tarot reading for this person and their partner? And they were both in tears, and a lot came through. And I left and thought, okay, this is weird. um, and then from there, it just kept growing and growing. And 2.5 years ago, I left I had a vice president strategy role at a tech agency, a digital transformation tech marketing agency. And I'd just been feeling for a long time that part of my life was starting to wind down. I still consult in the space, but as far as it taking all of my time and energy, I was starting to wind down. And I worked with a career transition coach and put myself out there as an intuitive, a tarot card reader, an intuitive, someone who taps into these things. And I was very surprised, but my first like year and a half in business, I did pretty okay. I was like, okay, it's not the same as the tech world, but I can keep things moving this way. And word spread. And yeah, so I do a lot more these days. I have clients that come to me monthly, and in my cosmic clarity program, it's I still do tarot readings, of course, like no problem. But a lot of people now come to me and it's just more of an open dialogue. I don't need the cards to
Mhm.
really tap in. And I use another system, the cartomancy you referred to. Also, um,
Oh, yes.
yeah, cartomancy is uh, we can call it like a wide category of cards. So you could be talking about tarot cards, playing cards. Cartomancy is like the study, the whole field of those cards.
Oh,
And
okay.
sometimes cards of destiny, people will refer to it as cartomancy. It combines numerology, astrology, and other systems in it, esoteric symbols. And but yeah, now a lot of my clients come to me specifically for the cards of destiny. I had a client who said it really clearly. She said, love the tarot, that's great. She goes, but with the cards of destiny, it's so specific. They're time bound, they're time based, there's a more specificity they felt to it. And I see there are different tools in the tool bag that can be used at different times.
So
So
what are the cards of destiny? I've never heard that before.
yeah, so cards of destiny, it's a really we the the history of it, just like tarot and a lot of these things, is can be contested, but it is contested, and people have different ideas. But the cards of destiny, um, according to scholars in this field, the cartomancy, field, say that it originated with the Order of the Magi. There's a guy from, I think it's the late 1800s. I'll have to look this up, but he had this system. It's based on the 52 card. He's the one that shared it forward, and then Robert Lee Comer, or not Robert Lee Comer. I'm thinking of Robert James Comer, who wrote The Lost Octave. Robert Lee Camp wrote the book that's now considered the books that are now considered like the foundational books that we use for it. But yeah, it's based on the 52 card playing system. It's based on the 7 visible planets in the sky. It works in number patterns. There's a numerology factor to it. Works with the number 7, 52, 364. And every birthday is assigned. 2 or 3 cards. And each of us move through more predictable 52-day patterns in our life. And there's a 40.
Really?
Oh yeah, it's very
Oh,
specific. Yeah, we move through year-long patterns. There are 7-year-long patterns. At age 45, another specific pattern happens. And with this system, it's pretty wild, but you're able to even sometimes, a lot of times, pinpoint specific people in your life and what may occur with them. So it's pretty wild. Um, I would say the majority of my clients now that come to me are actually on the business side of things. I work with CEOs, CTOs, global heads of data. I work with people in Europe, the United States. Like these are intelligent, logical people who go with data, and they just love to have that extra leg up. And I have a client and he said, I think I need to leave my tax advisor. I'm looking at these 3 other people. So we look at birthdays, we look at timing. I'm looking at
ooh,
energies coming in. He was also purchasing another residence somewhere, and we ended up not going with that and going with a different country. And it's just, and then usually there's things that will come up later that will verify. Um,
wow.
I
I
went to,
love that you're seeing like that you have clients who are so like professionally minded. Um, because it makes me think, I think I told, yeah, you knew I was in New Mexico last weekend, and I did this stargazing with this very science-oriented astronomer, and I made the snafu of referring to something as astrology. And then I immediately corrected myself. I was like, no, no, not astrology, astronomy. Sorry, astronomy, because
Mhm.
there in that world, there can be like this, prejudice of
Mhm.
science over the arts. And somebody who was in the group was like, well, what's the difference between astrology and astronomy? And this guy, he was a very nice person, but like very reduction science,
Yeah.
very reductionist. So he couldn't wait to tear down astrology and talk about how, the difference of knowing where the planets are and the science of it versus horoscope. And I feel that that's people love to go to, they just reduce astrology down to people go and look in a magazine at their horoscope and then they let that dictate their lives. And I'm like, oh my God, we have so, I mean, I didn't even go into it, but I was just like, we have so much really fascinating tools for self-exploration based on astrology,
Mhm.
like the gene keys, human design, like the things that you're talking about. I didn't even know cartomancy was a thing, or the cards of destiny. And all of these things can open up so much insight about what, not only like what our destiny is or what the probable futures are, but what makes us tick, what's happening underneath the layers that we don't have sight to, we don't have access to, in terms of understanding like what's driving our behavior. But you can use these tools to understand yourself in a more complete way. So I love that you've got these people who are kind of more analytically minded, very, tied into just the day-to-day mainstream, and they value it, and they're seeing how this can give them an advantage to things instead of just having that like, nope, I'm in the physical material world and I can't,
Yeah.
and I can't imagine exploring or giving any value to something like that.
Yeah, it's you can only like lead a horse to water,
Yeah.
right? That's like you can. I'm like, I got this thing. Do you? I could tell you a little bit. You just wait like a few days. Don't just wait. And but like I have this system. I can help you with timing. Like, do you want to? Nope. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
One of my good friends is Caitlin Carehart, and if you find her on Instagram at Kaerhart Carehart, and she's just an absolute expert numerologist. She wrote the best-selling book "You Are Cosmic Code," and she on one of her she has a reel she put out. It was a while ago, but she references the fact that J.P. Morgan of the banking family, J.P. Morgan, um, supposedly had this quote that millionaires don't use numerology, billionaires do. And, and then I've seen a lot of other people kind of posting it later, but it's true. And, her clientele as well speaks to that, who she works with. It's a lot of hedge fund people, Wall Street people, like this, the numbers are a science. Like numbers are a science. We're in what appears to be some kind of mathematical, there's some math to things, right? We know that just through nature. And then why would we not be a part of that? And when I have so many years of experience and I can look at these systems, people think, well, you put this into your head and so then you make that happen. That's true, that you can have something seeded into your mind. Our brains are very powerful. They're supercomputers. You could meet someone 10 years ago, forget about it, and then, remember something from that. Our brains are so, the ability to like go back and retrieve information is well beyond what we can conceive. But with these systems, I've actually had no knowledge of them prior to certain times. I now can go back into my life. I keep a meticulous calendar. I know what I've been doing for a long time, like who I was with, where I was. It's just something I'm an archivist. I love to document things. I'm a researcher. I love it. Like I love keeping detailed notes. And I can go back and look, when did I fall in love? When did I break up with someone? When did I move? When did I have a legal situation? And go back and look at the systems that I look at, the graphs, the charts. And it's like, this is a 52-day time period when I was destined to move to a new home or change my business. So it's whether you want to look at it or not, these energies are flowing through, and each of us have different energies flowing through based on our extremely unique blueprint. And, we think about, we are points of light. All of us are points of light. And we came into this world as a point of light at a certain moment somewhere in time space. And that is encoded with a specific time and place. Like that's a pinpoint of light. There's an identifiable place there. The way we can identify where a star is, right? The way we can identify the latitude and longitude of something. We are also like that. And there were influences happening, right? There's our parental influences, our community influences, the nourishment, the actual like elements and the things that were going into our body via our mother, via, sound waves, frequencies, and also where we are spinning in our solar system. Different planetary alignments, different energies are coming through and hitting us. And there are very smart people, much smarter than me, who have figured out, or maybe they were from another star system or a higher
And they're
intelligence
just
or a different
delivering.
dimension, and they delivered
Yeah.
us the information. And then these very wise people, Michelangelo, Aristotle, many more, who came in and said, hey, this is what this means. Here's the code for this. Maybe our future selves, who knows? But yeah, it's, to me, I used to somewhat argue with people like, no, you got to like try to prove the point. And I think, we were talking about kind of authenticity and approval on this episode, and I kind of moved away from the need for approval on it. And I'm just so in the authenticity for myself of knowing I have enough evidence now. This is legit. This works. This is real, and it's helpful. It doesn't solve all
Yeah.
my problems. It doesn't predict, it doesn't prevent me from having to experience it can at sometimes prevent having to experience things, but we still have to go through our experience. It's just, for me, I love kind of having that heads up so that if something starts to go awry, I can be like, I knew this would happen. This energy was kind of coming up, and let's just write it out. It's going to be fine. I know that this is coming up next. And it feels like there's a purpose or a reason or a plan for it. And that makes me
Yeah.
feel better in my day-to-day life.
I love that because it gives you that. I love things that give me that like 50,000-foot view is kind of what I think of it, because when we're in our lives, things feel so personal, and they are personal. They feel personal because they are personal. We're going through them and they affect us. They affect our emotions. They affect our flow, and it can be really hard to be in the minutia of things. And when we have these tools that help us to step back and be like, okay, this is what the energies are calling, and we can kind of match it up with like, oh, something bigger is happening here. And there can be a lot of comfort and understanding that come through that, and even some purpose of like, okay, well, maybe it feels like I'm in a tornado right now, and I'm in chaos, and we might feel some responsibility for that. And ultimately we do have our personal responsibility as well. But to see that there is this like orchestration happening, I think can just make us feel, again, more purposeful, give us some frame of reference. I'm curious, as you're talking about all of this, a lot of the way that it's translating to me is like encodement, encodement, encodement. This is all points to, the mathematical encodement. You mentioned the etymology and your name, even down to your name. And I'm very curious about this as well. I just interviewed Cheryl Page, who has done some really interesting things around AI and communicating with AI. She's one of the mystical people out there who is engaging in that way. And I'm just remembering, I interviewed her right before I went to New Mexico, and she even talked about some website where you can go and there's like this Hebrew, you can take any word or phrase and put and get like the Hebrew, like, because they can reduce it to numbers, and then the numbers tell you. I can't remember now what it was, so I can't wait to go and edit that.
It starts with an A, I believe. I can I can like kind of see the name, but yeah, it's the system, it's the Hebrew system of putting all the letters together, and then there's like a numerological output.
Yeah, and then it like there was some like this word that was coming up for her, like then had this other meaning that was like really specific and encoded for her, which I want to go and explore. But I'm really curious about the etymology of your name and what that points to, because what I understand with you too is, you even use this term of cosmic mentor. So I know with you there's this big cosmic aspect. I want to dive into that too.
Yeah.
But let's start with the etymology and maybe it feeds into that. I don't know.
Oh, it does. It does. And I love seeing your sacred geometry behind you, because
Yeah.
the navy blue sky with the points of light, I've had some experiences with, not that symbol per se, but the idea of it. So it's cool to
I love
see
that.
that, and it ties into all of this. So yeah, so my first and middle name are Aubrey Nicole. And yeah, just grew up, didn't, there was no, the reason I was named the name I was given was my parents liked a song that had my name in it. And that was the reason I was named that. That's it. And so interesting. I don't know when this was. This was years ago, but I was like, oh, I wonder what my name means. I know I was named after the song, but I wonder what my name means. So etymology, etymology, is
Not
it's
the study of bugs.
not the study of bugs, not the sacred
You
study
don't
of,
have the N in
yeah,
there, so.
yeah, and yeah, not bugs, spelling it correctly. It, you can go in and you can look at the origin of your name, so it will give you like, it's French or is it Germanic, or, and I put in my name, and some names have like quite a few things. It could be like, oh, this means gift, or this means, whatever, light, or whatever, brook, stream. Um, and my name, Aubrey, the way it's spelled, means Queen of the Elves, or ruler of the little people, Queen of the Elves. And my middle name, Nicole, means victorious. So I was like, Queen of the Victorious Elves. I'm like, this is so cool. And it was
Love it.
also so crazy to me because, I mean, this happened to me yesterday this happened yesterday on another live stream. The woman that was interviewing me, she goes, my elven queen, my elven. And I was like, what? Like, I stopped her. I said, that's what my name means. But this happens. I've had reflected to me throughout my life. You're like this elven fairy. You have this. I remember in high school, a girl came up to me and she said, your nose, I have a prominent nose, and she said, oh, your nose, it's so regal. It's like, you look like a queen, like it's like regal. And I was like, oh, thanks. And I was like, what? I don't know. So I've had these things reflected and it keeps happening. And it was a couple years ago I was living in Portland, Oregon, and I was up on a hike in Washington. The whole day was incredibly mystical. I had just found a green patch on Google Maps and thought I'll drive towards that. In Portland and Washington and the Columbia River Gorge, we were so blessed. It was like just incredible big nature, like stunning nature. So I would just drop a pin and be like, I'm just going to go there and figure it out. So I go up and I've dropped a pin and it was like it had a number like highway 25, I'm making it up, 2535, something like this. And as I'm getting off that freeway exit, there's a kind of an older hotel and it has all the colors of the rainbow, like a chakra system. And I'm like, oh, it's interesting. I've never seen a hotel like that. It's interesting. And as I'm pulling off, it says, if I'm remembering this correctly, I think it was Spirit Lake Highway. Spirit Lake Highway. Okay. And the rain, I'm like, this is cool. And then I get to the park and it's Sequest, like SEA. So Spirit Lake and then Sequest. And I'm like, okay. Another background, I've always had a very strong draw to a certain place in southern Thailand. That's just, I'm pretty sure that's where my people come from. Like pretty sure that's where I come from. So I'm like, I'm in my element, like the trees, there's a lake, spirits, I'm on a sea quest. And I get to this park and there's no cars in the parking lot. I'm like, what is going on? And I go out on a hike. I'm the only one out in the woods. And it's just absolutely the most stunning day, the most stunning hike. I mean, if you can imagine, you're smelling the soil and the pine trees, and it's just mystical AF, like so great, so great. And on the way back, I'm coming back from the hike, and I hear this little kid, and he is just kind of like squealing and screeching, and it's echoing, like it's echoing in this forest, and it starts to become obnoxious. I'm like, I'm like, what is going on? I'm looking around, I can't see anyone, and I'm just thinking like, gosh, I'm so irritated. Like I came out here for peace and quiet. I'm very like, shut this kid up. Like what is going on? Like it was just on, it was droning to me. And if you've never been to the Pacific Northwest, you should go, and you should go on a hike because the trees are very alive up there, like very alive. And if you stand by one for long enough, and this is not just me, I'm not a crazy person, people have this, you can actually hear them, and you can feel a quality. You can sometimes feel if they're masculine or feminine. You can feel their age. You can feel if they're grumpy, in a good mood. And it sounds crazy. I didn't know about this till I moved up there. There's something going on up there. And I'm walking by this tree irritated. And I don't remember exactly what I heard, but the thing that came into my head was like, why don't you stop it? It's dead quiet out here all the time. We love to hear that kid laughing. And I was like, I got smacked. And this was like, it was a masculine voice, and it was a tree being like, why don't you stop it, lady? We like this. And I was like, I turn around, I'm like, and then I start dying laughing. I'm like, this kid's out here having the time of his life. These trees love that he's so happy. They're just like soaking up and I'm sitting here going, plan, it's too. And I keep walking. And then pretty soon the kid and his mom are closer. And there's the kid, and he's like about 7 years old, his mom. And then there's a younger boy who's really quiet. I'm walking and there's a giant tree has fallen, like so much that I would have to like kick my leg up and kind of go over. It's a pretty big tree. And so I start to do that process, but part of me is like, I want to wait and let these people pass. Like, I just kind of want to see this kid after this tree has kind of like put me in my place. I was like, oh, this is hysterical. So I'm sort of up on the log and I just start looking out into the distance. So I'm not just like waiting for them like a creep, So I'm just like looking off into the distance. And as the kid comes closer, he's the first to approach and he goes, oh my God. And he is just like, he can't believe what he's seeing. And he's looking at me. And I'm like, And he's like, they're everywhere. It's all the fairies.
All the fairies, the sound cut out. So I'm just like,
All the fairies. Look
oh,
at all the fairies. And he was in shock. I have chills all over my whole
oh
arms.
my gosh.
And I was sitting there and I was like, what? He goes, you can't, their fairies are they're all around you. And I was like, what the? And his mom comes up. She goes, I'm so sorry. He's so, no, 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 no. She goes, and I go, no, 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 no. I go, and he proceeds to go. I have part of this recorded on my phone on audio. I was like, no one is going to believe me. This story sounds so insane. No one will ever believe me. So in my pocket, I have part of it audio recorded. And he gets very serious and looks at me and tells me, your mission is starting. And he's like, do you remember? And he's talking about creatures from the sea. He's talking about dragons. And then I turn my wrist at some point and he sees my tattoo and he goes, that's the flag. That was the flag on the end of my bed. The dots. He goes, and this kid was going absolutely crazy. He was using like terms that it wasn't Harry Potter, but he was like saying names of like, this was a few years ago. I can't remember, but he was like using these names of creatures. He goes, they need you. And I said, what? I go, do I have time? He goes, yeah, you have a little bit of time, but the mission is starting. And his mom's like, he says all this stuff all the time. I don't know what he's talking about. And I was like,
Oh my gosh.
so we end
I
up,
have so many chills.
it
Oh
was
my
crazy because my
gosh.
name is Queen of the Elves, Queen of the Fairies, Queen of the Little People. And he's like,
Yeah.
the fairies are all around you. And I was like, and the
Wow.
tree had yelled at me. And I was
Yeah.
like, what is going on? So,
Oh my gosh.
so the kid passes, they go past. I am just sitting there like, what is going on? I keep walking and I get to the parking lot and their SUV is there and it's pulling out and I wave and they go past and they get to the end and then all of a sudden the brake lights come on and the SUV reverses and the window rolls down from the mom. She goes, he has something he really needs to tell you, and rolls the window down. He jumps out of the car actually. And he wanted a picture with me and he needed to tell me more information. He said, I have more information for you. And I've listened to this recording a few times to see some pretty interesting things in there now, but definitely something very odd happened there. And the mom and I actually stayed in touch. And she said, he's always been like this. I don't know what to do. I said, encourage him. Like he's seeing something at worst, he could write a best-selling thriller. Like what? Like
Right.
he's got all the characters. He knows the crescendo points. He talked about also one of the things he talked about were these purple astronauts coming down to me. I happen to have a situation in my life with astronauts and NASA. I have synchronicities with that. So the kid was tapped into something, whether he was just picking up some of my life experiences. I don't think that's what it is. I think it was, I actually don't know what it was. It could be anything. But yeah, etymology is really interesting. And you can look into your name and see what your name means and kind of track it down. And you can look at the numerology associated with your name. You can look at the planets that are associated with your name. Very interesting to do that. Really matches up with personality and how we kind of operate in the world. So when you start to break these things down and look at them, you can look at your Sabian symbols. You can look at your Elven star system, start looking at that and really have your mind blown, the
Oh my
specificity with
gosh.
things. So
It's fascinating.
mm-hmm.
It makes me think like when I first started kind of my initial spiritual awakening, I feel like there have been a lot of steps and unfoldment that happens. And so, kind of like my first step in when I started learning meditation and so forth, it was with an organization where a lot of people changed their names. That was kind of like this, rite of passage that a lot of people went through. So I saw a lot of people doing that. And there was this temptation of like, wait, I've been in this longer than this person and they're changing their name. Like, should I change my name? Because you just feel like, wait, am I like really this novice because I still have my birth name and I mean Goodwin is my married name, but
Such a great name, Goodwin. I mean,
oh
I haven't run the numbers on it, but
yeah.
when I saw your name when we were first connecting, I was like, Goodwin? I was like, I can move forward with this. This is a pretty good name. I'm like, yeah.
Well, thank you. My maiden name is Harfst, which I do love Harfst, like harvest and the earthy element of that, the earthy nature of it. But it was a hard name to say and spell because it's like five consonants in a row that don't really flow together. Um, so when my husband and I were talking about getting married, I was like, oh yeah, I'm definitely changing my name because I will never have to spell that. Like,
Uh-huh.
that'll be
Uh-huh.
great. But like my first name, there were thoughts in my head of like, well, like maybe I should get an Indian name because this is what everybody is doing. But r- I just I never really seriously considered it. And then it was later that I started hearing about the sounds ka and ra and the Egyptian, well, I mean, I think lot of lineages, but like Egyptian lineages, those are very powerful sounds,
Oh,
ka,
yeah.
ra. And even to and so it kind of started to become this joke that I would have with myself, like when I would feel myself in this really expanded state and like I was connecting to my higher self or whatever you want to think of, but something like bigger than myself, I would call that like Kara. Like,
Yes.
and
Yes.
then
I mean, even when you say your names, like when you say your name, right? And if you're listening at home, you can do this for yourself as well. But like when you say Kara, for me, it's like Kara. It's like Kara. It's right at the first part is almost right below or right at throat or thyroid, and then Ra is very heart. Kara, and it's
Mm.
up. Kara, and then Ah, Aubrey, Aubrey, and it. So you can start to feel, and you can do that at home. If you're just listening, I'm touching my neck and pushing my hand down. So if you're just like listening, doing hand movements, but you can feel where the vibration lands in your body. Like just different names. You can try it. It's very cool. And you can see if it resonates with you, if that feels good. There are some names that, in my experience, feel a little denser, or there's a drop in the energy. And for some people, for their life path, that might be right. They might have a lot of air and they might need that grounding, like hearing their name might ground them, right? For me,
Mhm.
like Aubrey, it's good to have a Brie. It kind of
Mhm.
grounds me a bit more. But
Yeah.
Kara, and it goes up. The sound
Oh,
goes
that's,
up, the feeling.
yeah, you're so right. There is that. I'm going to play with that more because I don't, it makes me think of like being a little kid. And I think that like what you're saying resonates in a way that like I feel like I could feel that more naturally like as a child, just very like organically, where you
Mhm.
can feel people's names and where it hits you in the body and things, and then you kind of like train yourself out of that, or you, I don't even know so much. Sometimes I feel like, oh, it gets trained out of you, but then other times I'm like, well, I think it's just like it doesn't get nurtured. So you
Mhm.
kind of let it go and you focus more on like a linear, rational mind way of engaging with
Mhm.
everything, including sound.
Mhm.
But this is so fascinating. I know that you have this. I mean, I would love to talk about this cosmic because we've talked about like the elven. We've talked about you. You mentioned about that experience that you had in meditation early on in the yoga studio with that ray of blue
Yeah.
light. I know that you've got this strong cosmic connection. We haven't really built on that yet. So,
Yeah.
is there anything that comes to mind that you want to talk about more in the cosmic space?
Mhm. Yeah. So, like I referred to earlier with like southern Thailand and the ocean, there are two sort of like places or realms where I feel there's a lot where I feel comfortable, but two places or realms where I feel like a deep sense of knowing or anchoring that just I can't explain from necessarily my lifetime here. And those two places are like deep, deep, deep tropics, like in places that are far away from where I was born. So, Southeast Asia in particular, um, near Indonesia and southern Thailand. What's interesting, and again, I felt this and experienced this and knew this authentically to be true for myself before I ever heard about the system I'll describe next. But there's another system called astrocartography, and it's astrology and the study of maps put together. So astrocartography. And I have an awesome astrocartographer, Astrophil, if anyone's interested in learning more. Look up Astrophil, and he's a genius. But I learn about this system and I go, and some of the best places on earth for me are literally the lines, the latitude, longitude run directly through like very specific small islands that I drew myself to, like Kolipe. I mean, tiny islands, and you don't even see the islands. They're small, so small until you zoom all the way into Google Maps, right? Like islands that are that small, and places where I was like, I really want to go here. And I've drawn, Tokyo, I'm just insanely, I was like, oh my God, I could live here, right? Like, I don't speak Japanese. It's one of the places where these like really beautiful lines hit for me. And so the ocean, and another place I've always felt fascinated by, interested in, is the cosmos and up, and out. Always been fascinated with that. I love being in the great American West because the sky there's less light pollution and you can see so far. I have been studying, learning about, just absorbing nonstop astrology for as long as I can remember. Like if you come to my house, there's either music playing or there's someone talking about astrology in the background. It's just almost like a white noise. Like I won't even know what they're saying. It's just there's something so comforting about it to me. I love all of the math with it, right? There's 360 degrees in the zodiacal wheel and 12 houses. And within those 12 houses, there's, 29 degrees. And within those 29 degrees, there's minutes. And you just get more and more minute. And then there are so many beautiful systems that tell you down to the minute and the degree and the house what it means. And it's layered. It's not just an XY axis. It's not just, oh, I'm an Aquarius sun in the seventh house. What rules the seventh house? What rules Aquarius? And then you're getting into an XYZ, I don't even know what. You're getting into like a 5D, 6D model. And then once you start doing that, like I said earlier, the specificities, the specifics become so absolutely obvious that it's you. Like it would not apply to my sister. It would not apply to you. It would not apply to my best friend. There's just, when you put all of these points together, it starts to form the outline of your personality and then like the things you go through and the things you're good at and the things you're moving towards, the lessons you're here to learn. So I've always been fascinated with the cosmos. One of my major fate point turning points in life happened when I referred earlier to that marketing job I got after college, after my insurance job. And I was working there, but I was ready for a change and I was ready to move back to Los Angeles. I wanted to go back, and I got a call from someone, and they said, hey, we've got a director of marketing position. You want to come on out? And I said, absolutely. And the name of the company was Nyx, Nyx, and that's the goddess of the night. And Nyx, the goddess of the night, is actually the entire infinite blue. She is the void. If I'm remembering correctly, in Greek mythology, I believe that she is the mother of Uranus and Saturn. Don't quote me. Do your own research, look it up. It's really fun to get into mythology. I will research it again after this call. I believe that's the case. But I know she is the goddess of the night, and she rules, I think it's 7 or 8 dark experiences. Let's call them despair, betrayal. She's a very dark void goddess, but she's our mother, and she's there. So I get a call. Do you want to come be the marketing director for this company? And I'm like, absolutely. I go out, and that company it was one of the first players in wearable tech, let's call it that. So before we had iPhone watches and all this, we had this Bluetooth enabled, which was a new thing. It was very new on the scene. We had Bluetooth enabled wearables and very few customers. It was a small company, and our biggest customer was NASA. We had a government contract with NASA, and the engineers of the company, not me, I was in marketing, but the engineers of the company were developing a wearable vest for astronauts that would be more pliable in the space vehicles so that they could see biometrics read out via Bluetooth. So they didn't always have to like plug in and send their data back to wherever. So we were developing that vest under a contract, the company was. And the other client we had was the costume designer for Kanye West and Lady Gaga. So Kanye West's jacket that he wore at the 50th anniversary of the Grammys, right after his mother passed, he came out and he's wearing the jacket and he sang Mama and his jacket's glowing. One of our engineers was side stage with a phone, Bluetooth connected, activating that vest. Lady
Wow.
Gaga's disco stick, we created her disco stick that glowed on stage. So there was a lot of applications. There was like entertainment applications, there was scientific applications. But again, a bit mystical. The name of the company is unique. And worked there for a while and then left and wrote a book, worked for a magazine, was doing some other things. And then at some point was like, I need to make better money again. I need to pay my bills. So I began applying for jobs. And back then, it wasn't uncommon in Los Angeles for some jobs to be listed as anonymous employers. You would apply for a job, but you didn't know who you were applying for. Nowadays, that sounds insane. No one would do that. So if you're hearing this going, what? It's kind of a normal practice then. You applied for jobs on Craigslist. That was where people applied for jobs. You didn't apply on LinkedIn. So it was like anonymous. I apply for this job and then I get a call back. And this guy says, hey, you applied for this position and
Meet me by the river.
meet
Wear
me
a
by the
cloak.
river. Yeah,
Yeah.
kind of. I mean, things were kind of weird back then.
Yeah.
It was actually meet me at what's that place called? Southern California. It's actually a beautiful terrace over the ocean in Los Angeles, and lots of people, public place. But so I go to meet there, and he's interviewing me, and then he says, "Do you know who this is for?" And I said, "No." He goes, "Oh, it's for astronaut Buzz Aldrin, Apollo 11 astronaut Buzz Aldrin." And I said, "Oh." And he goes, "Yeah, we saw that you had your company had a contract with NASA and that you had interacted with project managers there. And so we know that you're familiar somewhat with that." And I was like, oh my gosh. And my head was sort of exploding in that moment. And I think I told him, shout out Jason Moskowitz, hello. I think I told him at that moment, it was either at that meeting or the next meeting. Spoiler alert, I got the job. But but I told him that what was so interesting was in my role at NYX, I was on a business trip to Florida to go to a space conference. And that was actually it was like the last week of my employment with that company. I was in Orlando. And I was at the space conference, and Buzz Aldrin, Apollo 11 astronaut, land on the moon, Buzz Aldrin was the keynote speaker. And at the end of his speech, I went up and I shook his hand. I said, "Thank you for your service, Dr. Aldrin." And that was it. And I walked away. That was my last week at that job. I go off and write a book. I'm doing a magazine thing. And a year later, I apply for a job. Anonymous comes through. So I shook his hand, said goodbye to that job, went and did my thing. Anonymously, I'm connected to him again. And I worked, my official title there was flight director, which is funny, but I was a licensing and marketing manager there. And I worked for his company for 2.5 years and worked with a great team and had the opportunity to travel with him on a few occasions because I would help write his keynote speeches and work on things with him. So I got to know him. He became a friend. And we always had a really good relationship. I stayed friends with him for many, many, many years after. He's in a different phase of life right now, but we stayed friends for a long time. And I always thought, oh, that's interesting. And I sort of thought after 2.5 years with him, I got an opportunity and he wished me well. And I went on to a tech company, but I thought that was the end of it. And years later, I was on a cross-country road trip. I was promoting a new company I had and gone to an opening, and I was coming back to California. And I love road trips. I love the United States of America. I think it's the absolute one of the best, just one of the best places on earth. I've been a lot of places and I love this country. It's so beautiful. We're so lucky to live here. And I could just start crying. It's just so naturally just stunning. And I'm driving across the country, and I am up near Mount Rushmore, and I'd never been there. And I think, oh, I'll make a stop off at Mount Rushmore on the way back. And I go, as I'm coming into town, there's all of a sudden my phone is alerting me there's a blizzard coming. And at that point, I was in an SUV. I had the top back. I have a crop top on. It's nice out. I'm like this. There's no blizzard. That can't be true. And I hit the phone. I'm like, blizzard. I'm like, this is crazy. Weather up in that part of the country is insane, apparently. So I call a friend. I said, does it look like there's a blizzard coming? She says, oh my God, there's a wall of snow coming at you. I'm like, oh my God. Okay. So I think, okay, I'm going to get to Mount Rushmore and find a hotel. So I pull in, I find a hotel, and it's this historic hotel downtown. And I go in, I said, I'll get a room for the night. And they said, would you like 4 nights? And I said, no, just 1 night. She goes, there's a blizzard coming, so we should book you for 4 nights because they're going to sell out. And I was like, I can't be here 4 nights. I'm like, I've got things to do. She's like, lady, there's a blizzard. Like, there's a blizzard. I'm like, oh, okay, book me for 4 nights. So I'm there. And the first night, this was a great hotel. It's the Hotel Alex Johnson. If anyone ever goes there, you want to stay at the Hotel Alex Johnson. Very cool, very historic hotel. And there's a Starbucks in the lounge. There's a restaurant. It's a full hotel. So the first night, I'm coming down the elevator, and the doors open, and a guy and his wife get in. And the wife's on her phone, and it's husband and wife, and they get in. But right when they get in, and this gentleman was, he's older than me, we're not the same age, and his wife too. And I feel this insane affinity for him. Like everything in my body, like physically, is like drawn to him. And I can't, I'm like, oh my God, don't look at him. You look like a creep. Like, why are you? And I'm trying to stand there and not be weird. But I wanted to hug him. I felt like I loved him. I felt like I wanted to hug him. I was like, what is going on? And they go to get off the elevator. And I remember she walked out first on her phone, and she's out, and he stops and he turns and he looks at me and he goes, what's your name? And I was like, Aubrey. And he's like, oh, okay. He's like, well, I guess we're all going to be here. I'll see you around. And he waves and walks out. I was like, what the hell? Like, what was that? Next day, get in the elevator, go downstairs, walk into the coffee shop, and he's there. And he turns around, he goes, Aubrey. He comes up, he goes, I don't want to be weird. That's my wife. I have a wife. I'm not being creepy. He goes, the strongest feeling about you. And I was like, I did too. I just wanted to hug you. He's like, I wanted to hug you too. He's like, it was so weird. He goes, come have coffee with me and my wife. We're trapped in a blizzard. Why not?
Yeah.
So go and sit down, and we start talking. And he says, do you ever get down to Florida? And I said, yeah, sometimes. He goes, where? I said, oh, the Space Coast, because I would go and visit Buzz Aldrin. And I said, oh, the Space Coast. And he goes, Space Coast? Like Melbourne area? I said, yeah. He goes, who do you visit there? I said, oh, just an old friend. He goes, who's your old friend? And I go, Buzz Aldrin. He goes, I'm astronaut Winston Scott. I hold the world record for spacewalking. And
Holy
I am like
moly.
blown backwards. And I'm like, what? And his wife looks up from her phone, and she just kind of looks at me like, what? And I'm like, in that moment, it sort of felt like she might have been a little bit skeptical. Like, did this person recognize my husband? And,
Oh, yeah.
so I was kind of like, and I go, well, you guys know Christina, right? Christina is Buzz Aldrin's longtime manager. I said, sure. So I hit FaceTime and held the phone up, and she happened to answer, and she goes, Winston, Marilyn, Aubrey, what are we doing together? And the story goes from there, but now we're close friends. I've spent Christmas with them. I love their whole family. And he's actually been on he's been on the podcast. You can hear him tell this. He tells the story. He tells the story better than me, but I think he's one of the earlier episodes on my podcast. But we've talked about it since, and we've talked about the force that's out in the cosmos. And I think that there is something. I don't know what it is. I don't know if there's an interdimensional DNA aspect. I don't know if there's a recognition, like Buzz and Winston whatever we want to believe about whatever's happening, with space programs, or, there's a lot of theories out there. These people have been to a different place than we've been, right? And is there some kind of recognition? Have I been there at some point? Like, do we come from something similar? And to make everything even crazier, in the system of cards of destiny, I'm born a 7 of diamonds. And one of the things that the 7 of diamonds is known for is being from another planet.
Mm.
And I started researching, and then I find out Buzz Aldrin is a 7 of diamonds. Then I find out that Winston Scott is a double 7 of diamonds, 7 of diamonds. And so
Wow.
I'm very connected to the cosmos. I've had intuitives try to look for my ancestors. They've tried to they look and they go, I'm just seeing this dark, it's like dark and there's points of light. And I'm like the universe.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, yeah, that tracks.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't
Wow.
explain it past my experience.
Yeah. I love that. I mean, I love that it all comes back to the cartomacy
Yeah, it's
and
cart, like
uh-huh.
CARTO, mancy,
Mancy,
cartomancy.
cartomancy. Yeah. It all just kind of everything keeps spiraling back in this conversation, which is so divine. Um, you are somebody who holds a lot of kind of casual understanding of three eye atlas. So I know I don't want to like peg you as an expert. We were kind of talking about this
Yeah.
before we started recording, but I keep coming across people who don't even know what three eye atlas is. So I think that this is a great place, and I know we're winding down on time, but um, can you just bring a little bit of insight? What is Three Eye Atlas? Like, what can everybody agree on, at least in terms
Yeah.
of Three Eye Atlas? And then what do you think it is? And then if there's any of this astrological, numerical
Mhm.
insight that, because I know it can be hard to kind of remember it all too, because I've looked into it and then I'm like, I know I've looked into it. It's fascinating. I can't remember anything
Yeah.
in terms of like what the planets are that it's hit and what the dates are and so forth. But
Mhm.
what comes to you when we bring up the topic of Three Eye Atlas?
Yeah. So, Three Eye Atlas is Interstellar Object 3. And the person that, in my feeling right now, is one of the people that knows the most about this is somebody called David Palmer. He's the Leo King. And I had him on my podcast as well, a friend, a good
Which is a
guy. And
great discussion, by the way. I might link, I'll try to remember to link that in the show notes
oh,
because
thank
such
you.
a great discussion.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so if you want to know more, go to him. He's dropping the bombs all the time. Like he has been researching this to the infinitum. Um, so this is an interstellar object. NASA is following it, JPL, Jet Propulsion Laboratory out of Pasadena, they're following it. All of the space agencies, all of the governments are following it. It's classified as a comet, an interstellar comet. But it's not
Discovered
totally
in June, right? Like it kind of came out of nowhere.
in July. Yeah, I think it was
July.
July. Yep, pretty close to there. We observed it in July. It was probably in our. There's different theories. Some people think it maybe came in from a different dimension and appeared. Some people, that's one theory. Um, it was in our solar system before. We didn't see it because it was going through an area of the sky supposedly that has a lot of stars, right? So we just didn't notice it. But it comes from outside of our solar system. Our solar system is our sun, and like all of the planets and moons, we're rotating around our sun, and there's a gravitational field, and we have a galactic center that's part of that. And this interstellar object came from what appears to be very near our galactic center. I think that's 27 degrees Sagittarius. And so it came in that way. It is not revolving around our sun. It does not care. It does not follow our rules.
Doesn't have a tail, right? Like a regular comet would have a
They
tail.
they saw a tail, then it appeared the tail went away. Now some people are saying there is a tail again. It's not behaving like a normal comet. It's doing its own thing. It also has it changes colors, and it's been going through like an Roy G. Biv, RGBV, different color strings. It looks like a strand of DNA. It's very unique. And it also will be coming very close. It will skim between, I believe it's Earth and Mars. Earth and Mars will come through, and October 29th, it'll be as close as it'll get to our sun, and it will leave sometime in the spring near Easter 2026. It will leave, and it's not behaving normally. It's got some interesting elements on it, and it's just extremely unique that three interstellar, that means outside of our solar system, three objects have come in since 2017. And the one prior to Atlas was Oumuamua. There's some really incredible correlations between that and our species deciding to send Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 up. Out, we sent Voyager 1 and 2 up. Oumuamua comes in, and it, when it rotates, has a flat black reflective surface. Not this is not a comet, and it turns and it does its own maneuvers and leaves. That's not normal. That's not what we've come to expect to be normal, and what we know, like organic things happening out in
Debris
space.
kind of, yeah.
Yeah. So Atlas is interesting. It will actually, right now, it looks like it will traverse over 29 degrees Leo, where the star Regulus historically has sat. Regulus now sits closer to 0 degrees Virgo. That shift happened sometime in 2011, I believe. But for eons, Regulus sat at 29 degrees Leo, the royal star. That royal star Regulus happens to be the star that is associated with a lot of predictions, mythology, about the star that will rise between the paws of the Sphinx. All of this is sort of culminating spring of 2026. There's some astrological event, there's something happening at that time, and this object is going over these points. It goes over points that were correlated with January 12th, 2020, when the news of Wuhan, China came out. There are other very, would be the mathematical odds, just I don't know how we would calculate it. And so if you want to learn more, again, David Palmer, the Leo King, he's the guy tracking all of this down. There's also, his name is Ari, I can't think of his name right now, but he's sort of the guy that's quoted most in the news and like in mainstream media. Ari something, Ari Loeb, might be Ari Loeb. And he has alternative theories. He thinks it could be from not benevolent forces, things that would be more of a negative aspect. That's his take. The whole point is, all of this, what's going on in the world right now, is tied. There's something going on. There's a bigger picture. There's, pages are turning in a giant book, like era changes are happening, and there are all these clues out there. And with so many people focused on their screen and down and in the algorithm, and you're just taking in whatever your government, whatever your technocracy situation decides, whatever you decide, right? You're programming the algorithm, you're telling it what you want to see. There are restrictions on what we see. There's a lot happening in the world this week that I would guess, if your audience is mostly American and watching from the US, would not even know is happening. We think a couple of things are happening with this country and this person and that, all very important. We should pay attention to that to the degree that it matters in our own personal life. But there are things happening around the world that are, I'm like, whoa, we should definitely be aware of this. And so we
Yeah.
have to keep track that of what's happening in our algorithm. But when we zoom out from all of that, there are things at a much grander scale happening, and we are so
In the
little,
minutia. Yeah.
so little. And so I think tracking Atlas I3 will be interesting. October 29th, closest to the sun, and there's some dates towards Christmas. Really interesting.
Wow. Well, thank you for taking us through that. It's definitely something that's fascinating to watch, and people who are really deep into astrology, like yourself and like the Leo King, just bringing such unique insights in, things for us to consider as we connect the dots. And you mentioned about the Regulus, and that's Easter Sunday, that Regulus is going to rise with the sun between the paws of the Sphinx. And this has been prophesized by different people, including Chris Bledsoe, which we talk about on the episode of The Infinite Drop where I was a guest, because he's a fascinating guy, and he's gotten insights from the woman in white who is this paranormal being who other people have experienced throughout time too. And he got the insight. He had no idea what she was talking about. But when the red star like rises at dawn with the sun between the paws of the Sphinx in 2026, and it happens to be Easter Sunday, and it's like that, and that what prophecy he received like a few years ago. So
Mhm.
anyway, there's just so the convergence of so many things that make me excited and curious about what's coming and where we are and all these things. So it's so fascinating. I imagine that people who are watching this are going to want to know how they can connect with you. How can they find you? How can they have their own cards of destiny experience? Um, so please, how can people connect with
Great.
you?
Thank you, Kara. That's really generous. Yeah, I would love to connect with anyone who's interested in learning more. So, first and foremost, you can follow or subscribe to my podcast, The Infinite Drop. I interview all kinds of people, and it's a lot of fun to do that show. Kara's episode was the last one that just came out. Definitely check that out. It was a heavy hitter.
Yeah.
It was a heavy hitter. It was good. So The Infinite Drop. You can find me on Instagram at Moksha Destiny. And yeah, I've got on Moksha Destiny, if you go there in the bio, you can just click the link and there's all the ways to connect. There's the book publishing company and books that have come out through there. I've got some great authors. There's a book of channeled wisdom from one of the new authors, and it's beautiful. And yeah, all the links to everything is there. And if you want to do, if you'd like to have a reading, if you'd like to do a Cards of Destiny or just an intuitive reading, if you'd like to learn more about my Cosmic Clarity mentoring program, you can just go to mokshadestiny.com. You'll see me in a sequined ball gown holding tarot cards, and it's all very
Ooh.
mystical. But yeah, you can check it out there. And yeah, that's really it.
Beautiful. Well, I want to take the opportunity too to let everybody know that you're going to be part of the Miracle Summit 25, which
Yeah.
I have not really talked about yet because people who watch this or listen to this will probably know I'm just a one woman show. So I'm kind of doing everything myself. And so I've been working on the website and the registration and the artwork and all of that behind the scenes. And I'm very, very close to announcing it, but I'm kind of pre-announcing it because Aubrey is going to be one of the spectacular speakers for the Miracle Summit 25. And you guys can mark your calendars for December 6th. You'll get more info on that. But I'm so excited to continue to collaborate with you because I feel such a beautiful connection with you. And I'm just so grateful for the work that you're doing to, we're all a piece of the puzzle, and you bring such genuine brilliance. You have such a keen mind and an open heart and this ferociousness that goes with truth and seeking and cutting through the BS. And so I really appreciate that about you and so many other things too. So thank
Oh.
you so much for sharing your heart with us today, Aubrey.
Oh, Kara, that was so kind and sweet. When you got to ferocious, I'm like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
you you've got me pegged. Thank you for that. That was really kind, and I really appreciate being on here. I'm so glad we're connected, and we live close. Like we can physically get together too, not just on the interwebs. So I'm looking forward to everything in the future. I'm stoked for the Miracles Summit, and I'm just grateful for the chance to be able to have these kind of conversations and yeah, period. I just like having these kind of conversations. So I'm grateful for you. And it's fun to be on the other side of the mic. I'm usually on
Yes.
the other side. So this is fun. So I appreciate you.
Good. Thank you so much. Thank you for those who have joined us here live and who are watching the recording. Such a blessing to be with all of you. Thank you, Elven Queen, Queen of the Elves.
Oh, that sounds so nice.
So it's amazing to have royalty
Mm.
joining me today. And it's
Oh,
just a regular Friday, as far as anybody could
you're
tell.
royal. We're all royalty. We're all royalty in this new system and this new system in our own ways, right? Good win and
Yes.
victorious. I like that. We're a good match.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
right.
Good win. Yeah.
That's right. I love it. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, and we'll have to do this again soon.
Absolutely. Okay. Thanks, Kara. Thanks, everyone. Okay. Bye bye.
Bye, everybody.